Hello there, and welcome back to the Forts Pro League, where here we have on the left-hand side one of our favorite teams here in the community. It's Team Pro Aim. MCC72K and Mateo under a different moniker, are playing as the Pinch Fist Commander, and they're facing off against their opponents. It is Team Danke Merkel. Danke Merkel of Finn and Embrulo are playing as the Seep Commander. You guys know the Seep Commander. This is the Missile Commander, and looks like they're going with the double missile rush strategy. So we're going to see both players utilizing these swarm missiles and eventually, or at least sooner than later, upgrading them to the Warheads, are going to be casting catastrophic damage across the field very shortly and attempting to eliminate their opponents, or at least mortally wound them before the standard heavy weapon timing. Whereas we have MCC and Mateo here, well, they're going for a more standard play. Using the Pinch Fist Commander, they'll be able to more quickly bring out those heavy weapons. Now the question only remains, will they be able to survive long enough to bring out their heavy weapons, or will they fall to the incoming missiles before they can manage to retaliate? As we see, the first swarm missile launch has been fired. Damage has been done. Now it looks like Mateo here in the bottom fort is having a bit of a rough experience here, having lost a mine and some of the defenses around it. Well, he's going to be the target for the foreseeable future. He has shown weakness, a vulnerability, and is being punished for it. We get to see MCC in the top fort has successfully managed to place down their first cannon. So that will put a timer on Danke Merkel, where they have a limited amount of time before that cannon will begin firing. As more swarms are launching, damage has been dealt. Now, it's worth noting that Danke Merkel does not expect to deal very real and terribly significant damage with just swarm missiles. These swarm missiles are meant to just punish any substantial greed, as well as apply pressure, so to force the opponent to react to them, to spend money on defenses, to spend money on anti-air, as we saw these machine gunners that were once placed and sequentially destroyed. The real damage comes in the form of the warheads. These nuclear missiles will be ready to fire momentarily, and we can expect incredible amounts of damage from that point on. Now, given that this cannon was placed at a relatively normal timing, it will be able to deal substantial damage to Team Danke Merkel at the standard timings. However, you'll notice that Danke Merkel fully expects this and is preparing to take hits. We see thick structure plating of various defenses, just to guarantee their safety while these nukes start flying. The flak, in a beautiful placement, is able to save his teammate from taking even more nuclear attacks. We're going to see several more of those along the way, as a beautifully aimed cannon destroys two of Finn's... Yes, that's just two of Finn's mines completely removed. Now that will put Finn in a rough position, as Finn will not have the money to even fire warheads. As you know, they do cost money to rebuild and reload, so that's going to put Finn in a little bit of a rough position. Looks like Finn is using the last of his reserves to fire his one last warhead before he'll have to hang off for a moment. As there you have it, nuke goes wild. Damage has been dealt. As we see, MCC has taken 72% damage on his core. And, well, that is an incredibly expensive repair bill, deforming significant chunks of the base, as well as, well, removing significant chunks. It looks like Mateo here, the new target, has managed to construct their own heavy weapons. At the 6-minute mark, has the fire beam and plasma laser. That is the 1-2 combo that Mateo is most known for. and we can expect to see some fairly substantial damage output when Mateo manages to fire those off. It will only be a moment before Mateo is granted enough space to actually fire. And there it is, almost touching the core. With an incredibly precise aim, finds that one weakness that could have ended it, but it wasn't meant to be. The amount of sway, the amount of recoil that the base was experiencing, raw from the impact of the missiles, keeps the laser just unfocused enough to actually hit that core. Looks like Danke Merkel, with Finn on the bottom, is not reacting to that potential vulnerability, and is instead just launching more missiles. As we can see, this has had some substantial effects. Already, Mateo has lost his fire beam, which is going to set him back somewhat substantially for that matter, in any effort of dealing damage. We have another cannon shell slamming into Danke Merkel, causing a mild amount of damage, but nothing significant was lost. And the question then is, will Danke Merkel continue to launch these nukes, or will they transition to something with a little bit more reliability, a little bit heavier damage output as this game goes on? For now, it looks like both players on Team Danke Merkel will be relying almost entirely on the missiles for their damage. This is not at all unsurprising, as we do see some mine upgrades to get some additional income. With the minigun emplacement, as well as a few other additional harassment-style weapons, we can reasonably... I could say with reasonable confidence that it would seem that Team Danke Merkel is looking to apply additional pressure to Team Pro Aim, specifically in the manner of map control. They're looking to use buzzsaws to open it up, looking to use their now array of multiple snipers to remove any anti-air, and this is going to enable those warheads to do more damage, or at least more reliably land those shots, as we have more warheads approaching. It looks like we have, from Ambrulo, one more nuclear launch detected. They'll have double nukes coming soon. This is something that Finn can't quite afford just yet, though may be able to soon-ish. We'll see how that works out. For now, we have Team Pro Aim getting another cannon. This means that there's going to be multiple cannons on the field. Oh, the double nukes land. And just like that, Team Pro Aim is hurting. And they're hurting real good, as that sniper manages to get through. As I mentioned before, they're looking to use those buzzsaws to dig open holes and then snipe through them. And there we have a perfect example of them doing just that. Again, another cannon shell rings out in retaliation for Team Danke Merkel's explosive vengeance, but it isn't enough to do any real damage. At this point, a single cannon really isn't going to be enough to end the game or deal critical damage. Team Danke Merkel is simply too well defended. But with that second cannon coming online, we might see some penetrative power to do something potentially damaging. The potential is there, although this opening volley here wasn't enough to make the difference, as two more nukes land onto MCC's base. That's Pro Aim's topmost base, and with it, pretty much any hope of rebuilding is lost. MCC here is not even repairing, as they are well aware that it's far too expensive to manage to do so. However, two more cannon shells ring out and actually manage to penetrate Danke Merkel's topmost base's energy production, leaving we have Ambrulo in the top base with absolutely zero energy production, which will quell the rates at which those nukes are fired, giving Pro Aim an opportunity to breathe for any amount of time. It looks like Mateo has been trying consistently to aim for Danke Merkel's mineral production, that's the metal production in all those mines, has managed to remove one mine, but not quite enough to shut down Danke Merkel entirely. While Danke Merkel is hurting economically right now, their weapons haven't been destroyed or really in any way damaged. This is going to enable Danke Merkel to rapidly increase their fire rate once their basic economy has recovered. So we have a substantial amount of missiles flying. However, there's just enough anti-air for Team Pro Aim that they are able to clear the sky from the biggest of the threats. We'll see if that changes soon. Danke Merkel has been ramping up their harassment style weapons in an effort to regain map control, or at least force Team Pro Aim to not have any map control at all, as 2 more cannon rounds are coming out from MCC, both aiming at... I do feel bad for Finn here. Finn has been targeted quite heavily by both players on Team Pro Aim, and their minds have suffered for it. As every time those doors open, well, the snipers just reach through and take out 1 more source of anti-air. Mateo up to 2 fire beams, which is always scary. Looks like MCC aiming for the front door, or not even a door, it's just a front panel. The frontal assaults. As a nuke flies and misses, both nukes shut down. Ooh, MCC aiming for those wind turbines once more. Very effective, but not quite enough to get the damage done that they need. So close, so far away. Still aiming for those mines, is not quite able to punch through it. The 1 token mortar, not for damage, but for baiting AA, so that the doors of the AA will open, allowing them to be sniped, as well as just to generally distract the anti-air so that the missiles can fly through. At this point, this reeks of Team Danke Merkel trying to sync up their shots so they could fire all 3 nukes simultaneously. And there they go. 1 nuke lands. The next 2? Oh no. Massive damage. All 3 nukes successfully land across the field. Mateo face tanking them. That is not the amount of damage you can manage to sustain. Yes, Mateo did manage to survive the shots, but at what cost? That is not something that can be rebuilt before the next volley. As we see here already, the next set is flying through. Token splash damage, but nothing critical is lost this time around. The AA was enough to shut down the nukes entirely. Only the swarm missiles made it across. Now, we do see here that Mateo, after that set, is not rebuilding the AA, at least not yet. Looks like Mateo is relying almost entirely on face tanking those nukes, which is the most consistent way. Oh no. That's rough. MCC eating all the nukes. They made it all through, and with very little defenses remaining, MCC is down to only 4% core left. That's going to leave Pro Aim in an incredibly vulnerable position. As sensing blood, there's only 1 real target left. They're trying to make it across. Doesn't quite make it. A little self-sabotage there. But MCC survives. This one is close. This one is very close. As the EMPs come out and try to do any additional damage. Oh no, that is multiple missile launches. Will it be enough? It is. Massive damage. MCC goes up in nuclear fire. Only 1 player remains for Pro Aim. Mateo, while Mateo has laser beams, 2 fire, and 1 plasma, it hasn't been enough just yet. Mateo, extremely well known for those door snipes, but Danke Merkel isn't using heavy weapons. There are no doors to snipe. Those missiles are coming out from around the base, from behind. There's nothing really critical to deal with these. Lasers are most known for their ability to precisely land damage in an extraordinarily accurate fashion, in the most precise and vulnerable locations. That always means that at any point in time, a single plasma beam is enough to deal game-ending amounts of damage, or at least enough damage to come back and even the odds. However, in this instance, there really isn't a single vulnerability anywhere on Danke Merkel's bases which could be exploited by such a weapon. And that leaves Mateo in a place where they really don't have a win condition. They don't have a serious way of coming back. One of the side effects of going for mass missiles rather than heavy weapons is you can have an extraordinarily defensive base. As we notice, there are no open spots in front of this core or anything of that sort. It's just thick walls of sandbags and, well, metal armor. And that's going to make an incredibly difficult time for Mateo to do anything real, at least any real damage. Now, of course, he is still trying to punch through the fronts. Lasers are good at penetrative power, however, they need a lot more penetrative power to actually break through that kind of buffer. Something that Mateo is capable of doing. It just needs a little bit more firepower. And, well, adding additional firepower can be somewhat troubling if you're taking that kind of damage from all of these missiles, and there are a lot of missiles on the way. Without the AA options of his teammates, Mateo is looking to be in a particularly rough position, as it should be apparent that simply face-taking those shots is no longer an option, given that both players launching nukes at Mateo will drain his economy faster than anything else. As we do see Mateo firing that fire beam, did get door sniped by the sniper. That's going to leave them 1 laser down. Now, it looks like Mateo is trying to transition to the munitions plant and cannons, as we see the munitions plant here. This is the option which enables the most amount of firepower quite rapidly, as something, let's say, a howitzer would deal incredible amounts of damage. However, I suspect that we'll not get this far. Hey guys, hit that subscribe button right now so you can get more forts the moment more forts comes out, as we've got more forts ready to go and plenty of Forts Pro League matches to show you. And we're off to round 2, where here we have on the left hand side, it is Team Danke Merkel, playing as the Phantom Commander. Phantom Commander is one of the favorites here on the channel, or at least amongst the audience, because it allows for some of the best cheeses. And well, we already have some mind games going on here with this fake structure, this fake and very exposed tech structure. It is slightly out of position given the normal place for it to be. It would normally be placed here. I don't know if that's going to come into play. However, we'll see if that we'll see how that turns out. Lord knows I haven't the foggiest idea what strategy they're going for just yet, so maybe their opponents don't either. As their opponents here, Team Pro Aim of Mateo and MCC, are playing as the Armadillo Commander. Armadillo Commander has been picked many a time so far, hasn't had great successes. Looks like they'll be playing fairly standard, going directly to heavy weapons of some description. With the Armadillo Commander, we can expect to have some cheaper defenses, more solid. I usually just describe armadillos as having more solid fundamentals as armadillo, with their cheaper armor and faster closing doors. It's nothing exceptional. However, it does enable things that are otherwise standard. You know, your basic armoring, something that in the opening and closing of doors, something that every weapon has to do. It makes the basic elements stronger, and it's seen popularity. However, I haven't seen great success with it in the Forts Pro League. Now, it does look like that Team Danke Marco will be going with some early aggression, which is not at all surprising to me. We see 2 incendiary mortars, as well as 2... I am interested to see how the smoke launchers do. Immediately, I think they're going to cast incendiary mortar upon their opponents, ignite their bases, and then prevent them from being extinguished using the smoke launchers. However, yeah, with the upgrade sensor, these are going directly to heavy mortars. I was going to say that the incendiary combo, probably a little bit too gimmicky, not actually going to get the damage done that they need. With the 3 heavy mortars, however, that should be something much more reasonable, especially with the 3 smoke launchers. That's gonna be a nightmare to deal with. Something worth noting that there was some decoy weaponry up top here for a moment. Looks like, surprise, just in time for that cannon to be placed, Team Pro Aim is suddenly getting pummeled by mortars, and smoke. Yeah, that might just be it here. This next set of heavy mortars might just do it. The initial defense practically requires that you have wood spam in order to, well, be a stopgap against the incoming mortars until you have a more... As I was saying, the typical response, the standard response to mortars like this, is that you use your solid wooden structure as a stopgap against the incoming damage until such a time as you can more reliably deal with the mortars, you know, to give you time to construct your AA and give you time to actually defend your base properly against such an aggressive play. However, the smoke prevents the construction of every kind, and that leaves the mortars free to do what they want. Looks like Team Pro Aim's top cannon here has been spotted and destroyed, and that leaves Team Pro Aim without any real escape from this, as they required that cannon to return fire in order to actually stop the amount of incoming damage. The question now is, what's next? It looks like Danke Merkel is armoring themselves up rather than increasing damage output. That's incredible. That's not at all a surprise. Just in case Pro Aim has some surprise cannon or surprise something somewhere, they don't want to lose a player out of nowhere. Instead, they can just keep applying the pressure and get further ahead once they've established this early game lead. With that smoke... Oh, the core is now vulnerable. They are able to rebuild slightly, but... Ooh, swing! In comes another wave as... Oh, the miniguns added in. That's going to be a substantial problem, as miniguns are exceptional at breaking wood and generally applying pressure. The core is once again exposed. The sniper tries. Doesn't quite make it in time, as poor MCC, the last remaining player, getting pummeled, hasn't given up, though I do not see a solution to their current predicament. They are using the repair bay to destroy and quickly disperse of all that smoke, allowing MCC here to reconstruct any amount of their defenses. However, as you can see, with the addition of the buzzsaw and the addition of the shotgun, the damage output is only ramping up. It's only a matter of time before additional mortars come out from Danke Merkel, and with it, any hope of any hope of actual survival kind of just evaporates. Mortars are an incredibly high DPS weapon, clocking in at more cost efficient than even cannons. The reason that they are generally not used over cannons is simply because of how easy it is to shoot down the mortars. However, given the intense lack of anti-air from Pro Aim here, there's really nothing stopping multiple sets of mortars from just chunking through the base and end to end. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, if you like videos just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button because this Forts Pro League is only just getting started. We have match after match ready to go, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single series. And we're off to round 3, the final match, the decider in this best of 3. As here we have, on the left-hand side, it is Team Pro Aim. Looks like this time they're going with the Eagle Eye Commander, with its new buffs from the recent Commander rebalancing patch. We see Eagle Eye being used more so for heavy weapons more than anything else. With its reload banking, its buffer shot, it's like cannon capacitors, if you will. The damage output and burst fire potential is quite devastating, as their opponents may soon find out. Team Duncan Merkel, after winning using a beautiful cheese in this last match, are looking to use the Warthog Commander. Warthog Commander Finn and Ambrulo will be utilizing heavy weapons just like their opponents will this time, though in a slightly different manner. The Warthog Commander boosts the power of individual shots within the heavy weapons, so rather than having 2 cannon shots in rapid succession, Danke Merkel will have a single cannon shot which has been empowered to deal absolutely devastating damage. We have seen Warthog has had some significant and great effects, fairly consistently for as long as I can remember. Very popular commander for this exact reason. We'll see how these different philosophies and weapons and, strategies actually make the difference in this match. For now, both teams are playing fairly standard. We see both teams going up to heavy weapons. We see both teams investing heavily in economy. Looks like there's going to be a kind of truce, if it were. A no attack for the first 4 minutes kind of agreement going on between both teams here. Looks like no one's getting cheesy. Everyone's worked that out of their system. However, it looks like they're going to be combining it with the howitzer. So the idea here is the howitzer does massive widespread damage rather than penetrating itself. It simply weakens these defenses of their opponents, while MCC in the bottom base will be using the lasers to over-penetrate and absolutely burn all the way through the weakened defenses of the target using their own fire beam and plasma beam combo. Very well known, very effective strategy, and given the reload banking option of Eagle Eye, they will be able to more reliably land that howitzer. Whereas Team Danke Merkel going for the exact same strategy. The only difference being, with the empowered howitzer and the empowered heavy laser, they will be able to deal much more damage if they land those shots. So this is going to be a matter of consistency versus raw damage output, as Pro Aim will be able to fire 2 howitzer shells in rapid succession, generally enabling them to land at least 1, and therefore more reliably deal their damage to the opponent. However, Team Danke Merkel won't be able to so reliably land their shots, but if they do, oh boy, will it be devastating. An empowered howitzer, there is nothing quite as devastating as an empowered howitzer, and as we've seen it many a time before, the empowered laser beam is it wins games, because generally speaking, the players will defend against a standard laser attack. They know exactly how many pieces of wood, how many pieces of metal are required to defend against a standard laser beam. However, they empower it, Now all bets are off, and suddenly what was once a reasonable defense no longer does anything at all, as both teams, so synchronous, so well done that they fire their howitzers simultaneously and meet directly in the middle of the battle, which is... Well, I wasn't kidding when they said they were going for the same strategy. It's literally the same, to the point where they fired their weapons at exactly the same time. The joys of incredibly experienced players. As we have the laser beams being fired in spite, just to send any amount of damage to against the other team for no other reason than they can, while they wait for their howitzers to reload. Speaking of which, the howitzers are now reloaded. Once their laser beams are ready to go again, they will be able to they'll be able to send that combo across. Now, it's worth noting that Team Pro Aim here is banking up that second shot, so they will be waiting for the second shots to become available before firing, so they can double fire their howitzer. So even if the howitzers meet in the middle once more, Team Pro Aim will be able to immediately refire and land it. Speaking of which, looks like they're doing that right now. As there we have the empowered laser beam burning all the way through, leaving the core completely exposed, although not touching the core itself. The second howitzer makes it, and that's it. Team Danke Merkel loses to the double howitzer. Or at least loses a player. Now the question is, will Danke Merkel be able to make a comeback? It is possible. It is possible. That is really all there is to say about it. It's extraordinarily unlikely, but we will see. If that had been an empowered shot, it may have made the difference. However, there we see it. The door snipe is enough. Danke Merkel loses every last one of their weapons. And there is a game-ending amount of damage on the way, as this howitzer is banking up its second volley. There will be 2 howitzer shells launched momentarily. Saving up the energy, there it is. Aiming for the mines. A beautiful hit takes out 1 mine. The second howitzer, 1 more mine. While probably not the most cost-efficient use of the howitzer, that was incredible amounts of damage. Losing any amount of mines is... well, it's like kneecapping. It's just, you don't get to walk again. You don't get to run again after that. That's going to set back Team Danke Merkel just a little bit harder. Finn is feeling the pain, as it were. It looks like... oh no. That's going to be double plasma beam, as MCC is ready to fire beam, plasma beam, and then plasma beam again. Will it penetrate all the way to the core? It will over-penetrate the base. Going all the way through. Managing to miss all of the internals, which is kind of a surprise to me. I expected at least those 2 energy production turbines would go away, but those managed to get by just barely scathed. This sniping always gets me. It's a good time. A fun little minigame. Now, we have the double howitzer ready to go once more. Mateo already has that reloaded and has the energy production to fire it. Hasn't fired yet. Makes me wonder what they're waiting for. Suspects just getting additional energy production and preparing to also include the cannon in that. Although I can't imagine why. Damage output is good. Oh, was he waiting for AA and has now discovered that there is no AA? Okay, well, howitzer is ready to go when it is ready to go, as MCC has constantly kept up the pressure with the laser beams. Good damage has been dealt across the field. Duncan Miracle been given enough time to actually produce another one of their own laser beams. We'll see if that comes into play here. Is he really saving up for the... Oh my god. He's actually just saving up for the double howitzer, double cannon play here. That's game-ending amounts of damage incoming right now is what's happening here. Do it. Fire it again. You've got plenty of energy. Your weapons are ready to go. You're not firing again. Okay. God, there's so much damage output just sitting there waiting to be used. As it looks like Finn's plasma will actually finish and we'll be able to fire it here in a moment. He's opening the doors to fire once more. Mind you, with this plasma, it will be most effectively used as a door sniping tool, as he had exactly one opportunity to use it before it in turn got door sniped, and well, that's devastating, leaving Finn down at 46% HP on their core. That hurts. That hurts a lot. Losing their last weapon once again is going to put them in not an ideal situation, as we have howitzer, into cannon, into laser. And there we have it. Team Pro Aim wins this best 2 out of 3. Another victory, another exciting explosion. And remember, another video coming soon. So make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it.